as the tension on that will allow, flip it on. And what you're going to find is that when you let it go, when it's done, it won't bounce back. It'll retain that stretch feature.
How long do you do this for?
The longer the better, just until it dries, really. You know, yeah, basically until it dries, right? I mean, if I can, the problem is that literally, and I'm not exaggerating, this is what I use to do this. And I can only get so many strands on there. So I tend to kind of cycle through them fairly quickly. If I can, I like to leave them on for a few hours, 4, 6, 8 hours. Overnight's great. The longer it stays on there, the better it's going to be, but it's perfectly functional after a couple hours as long as it's dry. Now the reason I do that is because I bevel all my edges. Now you'll be able to see this. When you cut your strands, like when you cut anything, essentially if this is like the top half of your leather, the bottom half, when you cut anything it leaves flat edges. Okay? Now what happens is when you braid with that, a lot of this stuff that you see underneath will kind of poke through on your seams. And you'll notice on mine they don't, right? All nice flat corners. And that's because what I do is I run it through a tool, again I will show you the big fancy tool in a second, that shaves an angle off the bottom of the leather. So what happens is when you braid, the edges will press down and everything kind of compresses and you don't have any of that bottom stuff exposed. It makes for a nice clean finish. Now again, the handle itself is purely cosmetic. So these are just enhancements to that cosmetics. I know a guy who braids with really chunky leather, doesn't do a lot of prep, but he does that intentionally. He wants his stuff to look handmade. So his strands are all kind of different sizes, and I think they look good, but that's his style. Mine is I like to have a really nice, clean, finished look. Especially when you get into like single tails and stuff, you don't want stuff sticking out. You really want a nice little tool. So what I do is I bevel. That's what it's called. Taking those edges off is called bevel. So I have my really, really fancy tool, once again. And if I start throwing out some really confusing terms, stop me and I will do what I can to explain to you. This is wood.
What is wood?
Exactly. I figure you, above all people, should know what wood is.
Hey, resemble that.
Okay, what I've done, in order to bevel, you can buy tools for this, and I actually don't recommend them, believe it or not, because a lot of them are actually hand tools that look not much different than a carrot cube. So you wind up having to set your leather, and they're called bevelers, and you have to sort of, bevel your edges, and it can be really kind of finicky and dodgy, and leather, Kenny knows what I'm talking about. Leather kind of does this, when you're working on it, it kind of goes like this. And, these are replacement razor blades available at leather stores. Do you guys have a leather store around here, like a Tandy or anything like that, do you know of?
One in Indy.
There's one in Indy, that's the closest one?
There's one in Indianapolis.
Okay. But these are also available online, and to be honest with you, I think any single edge razor blade would work. You could probably use a utility knife blade in here. All I've done is cut an angle in there, 45 degrees. I put the blade in there. I just use this clamp to hold the blade in. This, again, not want to get too fancy, is a paint stick. That's all that is. And I just use that as a guide, and you'll see how easy this is. So we've started with, again, like I said, I've cut my leather, and it's got flat, square edges. I don't want that. I want my edges beveled, so I'm going to show you how to bevel. We have the big fancy tool, razor blade.
Wood.
Yeah. This is a AAA card. You can use any card you like. I'm not biased. Go right ahead. But you're going to see how quick and easy this is. Here, let me turn this around so you can see. You see wood. Well, I'll show you what it's done.
Just gonna explain to me what that is.
See, the leather just runs along the paint stick and pulls the bottom edge off. And you can see how quickly, rather than, kind of tool around with this little hand tool, I can blast this stuff through in no time.
Let me just say the pretty hand beveler from Tandy for what, $10 would take probably 5 times longer to do.
Oh, at least.
Yes.
But now what you can see is I've got one beveled edge, and I'll bevel the other one. And what I'll do is I'll do the other side, then I'll pass around one that I've got beveled and not, and you can kind of see what the difference is. These ones are small. I'm using these for wrist straps. That's what I use these for. 4-strand braids on wrist straps. So, see, like I said, I was kind of going slow. Pardon me? Oh, round. Oh, yeah. This is a personal bias. I admit this up front. I do have a bias. If you put flat braids on anything, I will hunt you down, kill your dog, burn down your house. I hate flat braids. I don't know why. I tell you up front, it is a personal bias. I see these guys who are amazing whip makers. You know, tens and dozens of hours of prepping and work and these gorgeous whips with these flat braids for handles, and I just go, why? It looks like crap. So, it's personal bias, I admit it. Thank you for listening to my confession. I'll say a Hail Mary.
Full of grace.
So, what you're going to learn as I do this is you have a couple of things that are going to be your friend. Electrical tape is your friend, string is your friend. All right, so there we go. Done. And I will pass these around just so you can see. I mean, it's not really show and tell, but it just gives you an idea of sort of the work that goes into doing this leather prep. So one's, I don't even have to tell you, you'll figure it out. One's beveled, one's not. By the way, I need those back people. I'm actually working with those. So, okay, so as you'll see going around, I've already done all these. I've already stretched them and beveled them. You can see they've got a bit of a wrinkle in them. That's from being stretched. That wrinkle will go away. So far we have our handle cut, drilled, filled, leather's been stretched. Oh, sorry, my apologies. I talked about the width of the strands. The next question people have are how long should it be? I always make very liberal estimates on lengths of strands. And there's a couple of reasons why I do that. I am doing 8-inch handles. I recommend cutting 16-inch strands. The reason I say that is twofold. Well, maybe three. One, legitimately, you don't want to get to the end of a handle and run out of strand. You will want to shoot yourself in the face with a bazooka because you've done all this work, all this prep, and you get halfway there and you want to cut it. Because you're this far from the end, there's nothing you can do about it. You've got to take it all apart, cut all new leather, prep all new leather, do it. Save yourself the trouble, go double. The other reason is that leather work requires, braiding requires a lot of tension. If you really want to get good braids that aren't shifting around, you've got to really pull on them. And when you get to the bottom of the braid, if your strands are too short, you've got nothing to hang on to pull on them to get tension. So I always recommend making sure your strands are long. You'll wind up cutting them off and having 3, 4, 5, 6 inches left if that's the case. It's worth it because if you cut them short, you've got to recut them and you've wasted them. So that's what I recommend. All right. So how many people are here because they are interested in braiding or floggers because it's a fetish event that you had to Floggers? Braiding? Floggers? Okay. So you're really kind of more interested in construction than the braiding per se. Okay, so I guess what I'll do then is I will...
Braiding,
yeah, we've talked, haven't we? Yeah. And I meant to reply your email, but as you can see, I haven't been home in about forever.
I won't let it go.
Were those my strands? Huge. Bastard.
My hula skirt.
The caffeinated. Okay. Okay, so for everybody that's interested in floggers, we'll talk about the falls. The nice thing is that you can do them any way you want. You can cut them to any size you want. When somebody tells me they want a flogger, and a lot of times people don't know what they want, they're like, I want a flogger. What do you want? I want a flogger. I will typically cut my falls to 18 inches, and I will typically, if my leather's thick enough, like the buffalo, I'll do 40. These are all half-inch falls. So in order to do that, you will need, this is an important requirement, you can get around it a little bit, but I recommend not. You will need a sheet of leather at least as big as your falls. So if you're going to do 40 half-inch falls, you need a piece of leather 20 inches long, at least. Give yourself a little bit of edge. Anybody done any sewing? They always make sure they leave an edge on it, right? There's a reason for that. 20 inches, and then however long it's going to be. If you're going to do 20-inch falls, 20 inches long, and you're going to have 40 half-inch falls, you need 20 by 20 leather. That's it. It's a requirement. If you can't find that, say you found a really long piece that's narrow, you can cut it into sections of falls and then bind them together. That is an option. I always recommend doing it as one. These are two because I'm doing two colors. I couldn't find a two-tone cap. Now, cutting them. People always ask me, how do I cut my falls? And I say, however the hell you want. Doesn't really matter. Some people take a ruler and use like an X-Acto knife, a utility knife. It's okay, but leather is really finicky, and if you start to cut leather again,